Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thomas Fletcher and I'm the host of the LCSW network. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor by smashing that like button, by subscribing to the channel, and by sharing this video with your social work colleagues and friends. The purpose of this channel is to create a community of hope and support where social workers can come for relevant news, information, and inspiration. Well, welcome back to Care Saturday. Welcome back to Season 4, Episode 17 of our Care Saturday series. So in today's show, we will be talking about what is Stoicism. As those of you who follow this channel, last week we did an introductory video on comparing Stoicism to Epicureanism. So today we're going to do a deeper dive into what is Stoicism and how we can utilize some of the concepts from Stoicism for the purposes of our self-care. So let's get into it. So Stoicism is a school of Hellenistic philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium in Athens in the early 3rd century BC. It is a philosophy of personal virtue ethics, informed by its system of logic and its views on the natural world, asserting that the practice of virtue is both necessary and sufficient to achieve eudaimonia, which literally means good-spiritedness or happiness. One flourishes by living an ethical life. The Stoics identified the path to eudaimonia with a life spent practicing virtue and living in accordance with nature. So let's examine a few key components of Stoicism. So the first one is virtue ethics. Virtue ethics began with Socrates and was subsequently developed and spoken by Plato, Aristotle, and the other Stoics. So virtue is considered as a morally good disposition to think, feel, and act well in some domain of life. In contrast, a vice is a morally bad disposition involving thinking, feeling, and acting badly. So virtues are character traits which are central to someone's personality and what they are like as a person. And within this philosophy of virtue is a trait. Again, it's a trait that makes its possessor a good person, and a vice is one that makes its possessor a bad person. So Stoicism teaches the development of self-control and fortitude as a means of overcoming destructive emotions. And the philosophy holds that becoming a clear and unbiased thinker allows one to understand the universal reason, what the Greeks refer to as logos. Pause. This sounds very similar to what Dr. Marsha Linehan talks about in dialectical behavior therapy, in terms of there being three minds, right? There's the emotional mind, there's the rational mind, and what we want to aspire to is that combination of wise mind, not being too logical, not being too emotional, right? So that's my first observation on how Stoicism and mental health practices have a lot in common, right? All right, getting back to the Stoics. So the Stoics lived in a world ruled by logic, physics, and ethics, in contrast to the prevailing notions that mankind was at the whim of the pantheon of Greek deities, right? So because this channel speaks primarily to LCSWs and other licensed mental health professionals, I will not discuss Stoic logic and Stoic physics for the sake of time. I do want to briefly discuss Stoic ethics and how complementary their thoughts are with regards to our work as mental health professionals. Okay. So wisdom and self-control are at the foundation of Stoic ethics. For the Stoics, this meant striving to be free of the passions. The Stoics focused on using reason and logic to understand how everything in the world operates, or logos, universal reason. So when people were not operating from logos, the Stoics would identify that they were suffering from any number of emotions or pathos. The Stoics viewed the passions, or a passion, as a disturbing and misleading force in the mind, which occurs because of a failure to reason correctly. So one Stoic named Chrysippus viewed passions as evaluative judgments. Pause. This sounds like what the cognitive behaviorists call cognitive distortions, evaluative judgments. Okay, let's continue. So Chrysippus viewed passions as evaluative judgments, whereby a person experiencing such an emotion has incorrectly valued an indifferent or neutral thing. Wow. If that's not the definition of cognitive distortions, like all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing, just to name a few of the cognitive distortions. So we're on to something here, folks. Let's keep going. Faulty judgment lies at the root of each passion, according to this Stoic named Chrysippus. I'll pause again. This sounds like the nuts and bolts of what we as licensed mental health professionals do when we are using cognitive behavioral therapy with our clients. Right? Okay, let's continue. So the Stoics arranged the passions under 4 headings: distress, pleasure, fear, and lust. Andronicus of Rhodes defined distress, or lupe, as an irrational contraction or a fresh opinion that something bad is present, at which people think it right to be depressed. Andronicus defined fear, or phobos, as an irrational aversion or avoidance of an expected danger. Andronicus defined lust, or epithumia, as an irrational desire or pursuit of an expected good, but in reality bad. And Andronicus of Rhodes defined delight, or hedonia, as an rational desire or pursuit of an expected good, but in reality bad. Let me go back. I think I misspoke this one. Fear is an irrational aversion or avoidance of an expected danger. And then lust is an irrational desire or pursuit of an expected good, but in reality bad. And delight is an irrational swelling or a fresh opinion that something good is present, at which people think it right to be elated. Okay. So distress and delight were viewed by the Stoics as emotions experienced in the present, while fear and lust are future-oriented passions or emotions. So these 4 main passions were further subdivided into passions or emotions that our clients bring to therapy, or that even we ourselves sometimes experience. For example, under distress, they subcategorize distress as envy, rivalry, jealousy, compassion, anxiety, mourning, sadness, grief, and depression. Under fear, they had subcategories of sluggishness, shame, fright, timidity, consternation, bewilderment, and faint-heartedness. Under lust, the sub-passions include anger, rage, hatred, enmity, wrath, greed, and longing. And under delight, the sub-passions for delight are malice, rapture, and ostination. All right, so for the Stoics, the goal was to be the wise person, or sophos, who is free from the passions, what the Greeks called apatheia, pause, which becomes the root word for the English or psychiatric term that we are familiar with as apathetic. Think about that one. One more pause. For the Stoics, the goal was to become the wise person. You can't tell me Marshall Linehan did not get inspiration from Stoicism, because in DBT, the goal is to help our clients move away from black and white, or to move away from the opposites, the dialectics, and to integrate the rational and the emotional into what is called the wise mind. All right, so we're cooking here. Let's keep going. The Stoics believed that the sophos, or the wise person, experiences eupatheia, or good feelings, which are clear-headed. These emotions are not excessive, nor are they diminished. The Stoics viewed eupatheia as correct, rational emotions. They listed these good feelings under the headings of joy, or chara, wish, or bolesis, and caution, or eulabia. Within this paradigm, the wise person, or sophos, experiences uplift in their soul, or joy, when something that is genuinely good is present. The eupatheia, or good feelings of joy, wish, and caution, were also subdivided. So under joy, they identified enjoyment, cheerfulness, and good spirits. Under wish, they identified good intent, goodwill, welcoming, cherishing, and love. And under caution, they identified moral shame and reverence. So as we approach the end of this video, here are some questions for further reflection for our discussion this week. What practices can we use to support self-control and fortitude in our lives? Question number 2, how can we live our lives in wisdom? Question number 3, what practices can we all engage in to increase eupatheia, or good feelings of joy, wish, and caution? And lastly, what practices do we need to engage in to guard or monitor ourselves from the evaluative judgments or passions of distress, fear, lust, and delight? So in the next weeks, we will review works by some prominent Stoic philosophers, including Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. So to all the social workers and other licensed mental health professionals, thank you for the work that you do every day, for your clients, for your agencies, and for the profession. Please continue to support each other and yourselves. Bye for now.